As an athlete or fitness enthusiast, training is a big part of what you do. You're always looking for ways to progress your training, always looking for ways to get that little bit extra out of your body, to push your body to its limit, to increase your fitness, increase your performance by a centimeter, by a hundredth of a second, or whatever it is. But did you know that it's actually possible to overtrain? There's actually dangers in overtraining, and actually sometimes rest is actually better than training. But that's what we're going to be talking about today. So let's get into it. Hi guys, and welcome back to Fit with T. I hope you guys are good. Now, if you're an athlete, I'm sure at some point or another you've had that feeling of guilt when it comes to rest, especially forced rest because you're injured, or your coach has just said, oh, just take some time off. You're kind of thinking like, or that fear of missing out, that FOMO feeling. Maybe as well, if you're a fitness enthusiast, you've had that same sort of feeling. That's because it's so ingrained in us that we always want to train, we want to continue to push our body, continue to get that extra bit. You know, your competition's working, so you want to work. But rest is actually a part of training, and any good coach incorporates rest into your program, because it's actually during rest that your body adapts. When you train, your muscles have little microscopic tears, your muscles are strained, your body is stressed basically. Your glycogen stores, so your energy stores, are also depleted, right? And so when you rest, it gives your body a chance to recover and adapt, and also for those stores to be rebuilt and re-energized so that you can go back again stronger in your next session. So if you don't have enough recovery, what happens is that you go on already stressed muscles, already stressed mind, and that's when your body and your mind can start to break down. And so it's really important, as I said, that you understand the benefits of rest and the dangers of overtraining so that you can avoid these things and actually continue to move forward in the way that you would desire to. Now, there's different types of rest, okay? So when we're talking about rest, of course you've got the rest that goes within a session, so your rest between the exercises that you have, the rest between days of training as well, and then you also want to think about the difference between active rest or active recovery rest, and then just a complete rest and break. And so I'm going to talk about each of these different elements and when the benefit of taking these elements might be, and how you might utilize rest, and how maybe you might want to make a few changes or adjustments to not only your physical rest but also your mind and how you view rest as well. So when it comes to rest, we're going to talk short-term and long-term rest, okay? So long-term being the planned rest that incorporates which days you actually rest, so you don't train 7 days, which days do you rest, plus when you plan to take a break from the season. So for example, for most athletes, that's going to be at the end of the outdoor season. They'll take a few weeks, so 2 to 6 weeks maybe off afterwards, to completely relax, completely get their mind off it, to completely replenish, ready for the new season. So that's when we're talking a bit more long-term rest and the plan of rest, and incorporating, you know, not every day is high periodization, where you've got the ups and the downs, the high intensity and the low intensity sessions incorporated, so that your body still has a chance to adapt even though you're training over a period of time, right? But then you've also got active recovery, and I've spoken about active recovery before in my 10 natural ways to aid muscle recovery video, so check that out if you haven't checked it out before. But active recovery, we're talking a bit more short term, and this is going to be where you do something a bit lighter, something that's not as stressful, something that's maybe completely different to what you normally do, just to keep blood circulating, get the blood flowing to your muscles, and help with that recovery, to help to wash away the waste that are built up from your training, and still be active, still keep your legs working, your hips open, as opposed to just sitting down in a sedentary position, you know, the next day, which sometimes can just lock you up. Active recovery is a bit more of a short-term approach, but long-term you want to include rest, plan rest into your training, because like I said, if you don't do that, then what happens is your body starts to tell the signs that you're overtraining. You start to get to that place where you're feeling down mentally, your body's feeling down physically, and then if you don't listen to your body at that point, what ends up happening? Injuries normally occur, and that can be what puts you back even further than just taking a day or two off, or if you had actually planned rest into your training. Depending on where you are in the season, if you're an athlete, or where you are in your program or what you're training for, you may do the same session at one point in the year or in the program, and it feels a lot easier than when you do it another time, because you start to feel what we call fatigue. You start to experience signs of overtraining, signs when your body is telling you that you need to rest. Something that I say all the time is about listening to your body, and your body will tell you when you need a break. So not just a break in the sessions, or maybe longer recovery, and that's something to be aware of as well, that sometimes in a session you just might need a longer recovery in that day. Doesn't make you a bad athlete or a bad person because you need a bit longer that day, because you know you've had a bit more of a stressful week, for example. So you can adapt your rest within a session sometimes, and that's okay. You can still do the session, but just adapt the rest maybe to give yourself a better chance of completing it and avoiding injuries. And these are some of the signs that you might start to see that your body's telling you, I'm getting a bit fatigued now, I need a break. But I did know I was tired, because if I'm warming up and I'm breathing or I'm getting really hot really quickly, I know that I'm quite tired. And like yesterday, I literally just did nothing. I was like so slugged all day. So number one, maybe your motivation actually starts to dwindle. So sometimes motivation, a lack of motivation, can be linked with fatigue, can be linked with stress. You start to feel a bit stressed, you start to feel a bit low. I like to say you feel a bit flat, because sometimes even if you're not like, oh, I'm on it, when you get to the session you feel good, but there's sometimes when you're like, you're doing everything just feels so lethargic. That could be a sign that your body's telling you that you actually need to take a break, you need to take some rest. It could be the case that you start to get a bit niggly, so you start to feel pain in areas, not major injuries. It's a warning sign, because if you keep going through those, you could possibly get a major injury, which you don't want to have. But little niggles, so things start to hurt you, start having tight areas on your body, stuff like this is a sign that you need a break. Then it's important to listen to your body. If you have a coach, relay the information to your coach. If you start to feel certain areas are feeling a bit too tight that you don't normally feel when you're doing an exercise, then let your coach know. If you're training by yourself, then make a note of that. And if you haven't got a training diary guide, this is going to be really important for the things that I'm showing in this video, because if you have a training diary, you can look back, you can monitor and see how often do I start to feel like this, and actually incorporate it into your plan. Incorporate regular rest periods into your training. And if you have a training diary, it helps you to keep track of these kind of things, helps you to keep track of when you do these kind of sessions, it takes more of a toll on your body because you've recorded it down. So if you need a training diary, check out the link in the description box below. I've got athlete training diaries, and I've got ones if you're just a fitness person or fitness enthusiast, then you can check those out in the links in the description box below. A decrease in your performance can actually be a sign that you're fatigued. So sometimes not because you're a bad athlete, like I said, or because you're rubbish, so get that out of your head. It actually might be your fatigue, so you can't perform the way that you normally would. You can't produce the way that you normally would. You can't produce the force, you can't execute as sharply because you're fatigued. And so realizing that you need a break is really, really important. Now, we can't talk about rest without talking about sleep. So sleep is going to be the best form of rest, generally speaking. And so a lot of us underestimate the value of sleep. You know, in a generation where things are 24 hours, we neglect sleep. On your phone to who knows what hours of the night or the morning, should I say, on social media scrolling. So making sure that you have a good rest pattern, a good sleep pattern, a good sleep schedule, planning your sleep, you know, being consistent with your sleep, having a consistent time that you try to go to sleep and wake up will really help your body recover. Especially if you're an athlete who trains at such a high intensity, it's important to think about sleep as part of your training. Think about, you know, maybe what you're eating before you go to sleep. If you're eating really high sugary food before you go to sleep, that's not going to help you get a good rest. You know, think about your lighting in your room before you go to sleep. If it's a case that you might need to put your phone out of your room when you go to sleep because of the vibration, or put your phone on silent. Everyone's different, so getting into a routine that's beneficial for you. So figuring out where do you actually feel the most rejuvenated, so whether it's 7, 8, 9, 6, 5. And if you do want to set some sleep goals, I do have that section in my athlete training diary. So if you haven't got one of those, then again, the links are in the description box below. So guys, that's the video. If you liked it, please give it a big thumbs up to help me accelerate my channel, to let the algorithm know, and so that more people can see this video and hopefully incorporate rest into their training, just like you're going to do. And if you haven't yet checked out my video about the 10 natural ways that can actually aid your muscle recovery, then make sure to check it out here. And I'll see you guys next Friday. Bye guys.